Welcome to this, what I would call a little bit of a mixed bag video. Now what do I mean by that? Today I'm using 3 different cameras. 2 of them are 35mm cameras and one is the Zeiss Ikon Nettar 6x9 format that I reviewed in a previous video. Now I'm in the nature environment outdoors today and I'm trying to achieve photos which give a feeling of depth, and in a way that's associated to a very small aperture which creates a large depth of field. But an essential part is also the light. So the combination of the two are going to give you that sense of depth in your image. So in this case I've been trying to achieve that with this composition, and it's a composition of an old tree set at an angle here, and you see the composition from the right hand side that the branches are coming out to the left and the light falls in different places beneath. So that creates the depth of field that I'm looking for. If you don't have this type of light, it could be an interesting composition, but it's not going to give you any three-dimensional feel in your photograph. So I've shot this both on the Zeiss Ikon, as you see sitting here, which I've taken along, black and white, the Fomapan film ISO 400, and I've been using an Exakta RTL 1000 with Ilford HP5 Plus. Now with regards to light metering, I have a separate handheld light meter, and I've measured the light for the highlights, which means it could be that the shadows fall dark, but that emphasizes this composition. So now I'm going to walk around and see if I can find another composition of interest. Let me quickly show you a composition. I'm holding up the camera to my eye now, and I'm quite far away to the composition that I want to take a photo of. So let me zoom in to give you a feel what I'm looking at. This is a composition I'm going for. Again, a lot of depth, the tree diagonally across the composition, but to achieve this I needed a longer lens. So specifically for this composition, that just shows you it also makes sense to take along a telephoto, a short telephoto for your landscape photography. I have the Exakta RTL 1000 with a 135mm lens. So this is the camera and the lens that I used to take the shot at 1/25th of a second, f/16, and such a composition far away is a little bit difficult to achieve with the 6x9. Even though you can crop the image, you're going to lose image quality. And with the other 35mm camera I've taken along with me, it has a fixed lens, so that's not going to help me either. So with the Exakta I was able to achieve this shot. Off to the next. Let me prove my point about light. This is quite a flat image, and just a few minutes ago I had totally different light for this composition, and I'll show you the 2 examples now, when we had this exceptional light and when the light was gone and we ended up with this flat image. The light was so quickly gone again I didn't have time to take a picture with one of the analog cameras, but this is just to prove my point, how different of a composition you can achieve, all depending on the light. Here's another composition I could only have achieved with the Exakta RTL 1000. This digital camera is now set to 135, so it gives you an idea of the composition I just made, and again the effect of light on your image. So let me zoom out to give you an idea where I'm coming from. I was walking up against this composition and this is what it looked like initially. It just shows you that it always makes sense also to take along a telephoto lens. Not all compositions in a nature environment or landscape photography are done with wide-angle lenses. Here's the next interesting composition, which I took horizontally in color with the Rollei 35, and I shot it vertically with the Zeiss Ikon Nettar 6x9. I think that would more suit this type of composition. Make sure to always look up when you're outside. This is an absolute beautiful composition. It's time to break out the analog camera. Here's the next composition at 135 millimeters with this lens where it's set at the moment. So if I zoom all the way out, you can see where I'm coming from. And again, to achieve this, I needed my Exakta RTL 1000 with the 135 millimeter lens, which unexpectedly I've been using more today than anticipated. Now this is an interesting composition. I shot it using the Rollei in a vertical format or portrait format with the color film 400 ISO. I shot it with the Zeiss Ikon Nettar ISO 400 black and white film, also vertical format, and with a wide angle on the Exakta RTL 1000. Let me give you an idea what this composition looks like. So here you have the composition, and this is at a wide angle, and this is how it more or less came out with the other lenses. And the Exakta gave me a little bit more wide, which I very much like. Actually, I held it a little bit lower in the composition to get more foreground. There we are. So this is going to be interesting to see how each camera dealt with this composition, with the light, and also see the quality of the lenses. On to the next composition. Before I forget, the light has changed, so I needed to remeasure the light and readjust the camera settings. So we're now at 1/250th of a second, shooting at f/22. On to the next. Just when I was walking back the path I took here, I came across this composition. So I took this photograph with the Rollei, the Nettar, and also the Exakta. Well, it's time for a short summary on part 1. Using 3 different cameras. The little Rollei 35, the Zeiss Ikon Nettar 6x9 camera, which I reviewed in a previous video, and a third camera, an Exakta RTL 1000, using a wide angle lens and a short telephoto 135mm lens. So what are my findings in using these cameras after day 1? Well, first of all, this little Rollei 35 is a joy to use. It's small, the viewfinder is absolutely magnificent. It gives you the exact outline of your composition, so it's a very easy camera to make a correct composition with. It has a very quiet shutter. I really enjoyed using this little camera. And I'm also very curious to eventually look at the results of the photos that I've been making. With regards to the Zeiss Ikon, I've used it before. It gives you a very high quality image when you use it with a very small aperture, and outside here in this environment I've been using it at f/16 or f/22. The only thing I dislike about the Zeiss Ikon is it has a very poor viewfinder, and I'm going to be looking around for a separate viewfinder that I can attach to the Zeiss to get better compositions. With regards to the Exakta RTL 1000, I've been using it with both lenses. Interestingly enough, I've been using it a lot with the short telephoto 135, which I didn't really expect to use a lot outside here, but it just shows you it's worthwhile to take more than one lens along with you, always, even when you're out doing landscape photography. The viewfinder is fine. The shutter does make quite some noise, and it vibrates, so I would use either your tripod when using lower shutter speeds, slower shutter speeds, or working at least at 1/25th or 1/250th of a second to make sure you get the best possible sharpness in your images. But besides that, it's a fine camera to use. I actually have 4 of them. 3 of them do not work. This is the only working Exakta that I have, so it is a fragile camera. But I have a working one, and we're going to be seeing what the results are going to be. Now, today was an interesting day. It's the beginning of October. We're leaving the summer behind us. The sun is lower in the skies. giving you longer shadows, a totally different feel of light. It's really worthwhile to get out. Here in Holland, all the leaves are still green. There's no coloring going on whatsoever. That's mostly due to the fact that we've had a very long and hot summer. We haven't had much rain either. So the leaves are still all green, which gives an interesting effect when the sun is very low and the light shines through the leaves. Now, I've shot about 8 frames on this Rollei 35. I've shot 6 frames on my Zeiss, so I have 4 frames left. It has a 120 film, which gives you 10 frames. And I'm about halfway through my film on the Exakta RTL 1000. So this is part 1. I can't show you the end images yet, so you'll have to be a little bit patient. I'm going through a second part again with you, which I'll post online within a week. After that, I'll show you the end images, and I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I look forward to the next one.